Okay, so today I wanted to make a small video on photography. So for most of you that know me, or well, you followed me since like the very beginning, which would probably be back around 2012, 2011-ish. That was when I first started taking photos, and that was before I had a car. So it was before the MR2, before the S2000, so the Muse, and then obviously before the one now. And I just want to give some quick tips and pointers to people who, you know, really wanted to get into photography. And so I guess I'll start off with the gear. So I have this box. So this is a Pelican case. It's the, I think, 1510. So it's the carry-on size. And one thing though, gear is not as important as you think it is. So I started off with a Canon XTI, or was it an XT? I don't remember. So the thing was like 10 megapixels. ISO was horrible. That was just whatever I started off. But I got it for $100 from one of my best friends, Kong, and he's always been someone that, you know, I looked up to as a photographer. And at the time, there were a couple, you know, mentionable names, obviously. So I don't know if you guys know him, but Connor Surdy. So Connor Surdy's really good. He's still really good now. I think he's over at Starbucks shooting. He's in charge of their social media stuff and their photography and everything, which is really cool. But he was good in all aspects, because my focus was always really about cars, and that's something that I focus a lot more on rather than portraits and everything else. So you know, when you look at photography, you can't just look at, oh, he's good at shooting cars, so he's good at everything else. So that's a misconception that a lot of people have. So even though you're a photographer, you have that specific genre that you are focused on. And so today, obviously, we're talking about automotive photography, and I don't think that I'm that good. It's been like 10 years, almost 10 years since I've been taking photos, and I'm still at a point where I'm not very happy with what I'm doing, what I know. It's always going to be this never-ending chase where you want to become better, and you're never going to be good enough, which is something that, you know, is good if you want to keep continually improving. But then we also have those people who, you know, they have a camera and they have, you know, they take photos and then they think they're a professional, which I'm still, you know, I'm still trying to be a professional, but it's not really my biggest focus at this point in life right now. It's still a hobby as well. But yeah, so I guess let's get started with what I have now, what I'm shooting with now. So right now I have this. So this is going to be the Sony A7, I don't know, there you see it. So the A7 II. So I had the original A7, probably I bought that back in 17, and then I recently changed up to the A7 II. So this is honestly enough for me. It's a really good bang for the buck. So if you're looking to get into photography, I would highly suggest picking up Sony A7, so just the regular one, which is like the first generation one, which is really good at what it does. And so you'll notice there's the A7, A7S, and then A7R, and then obviously the A9. So the differences between those three are going to be these. So the A7 is your entry-level model, so now it's up to the A7 III, I think, or something. And then the A7S is going to be for your video stuff. So it's going to be lower megapixel, but it's going to be focused on video. So obviously your 4K and really good in low light, and so on and so forth. And then A7R is going to be more photography focused. It's a high megapixel camera, which is for the pixel peepers. And if you don't know what that means, pixel peeping basically means that you have a photo, enlarge it as much as you can, and then you make sure that it's clear at every single dot, every little pixel, you know. And there's the A9, which I didn't really look too much into the A9, but apparently it's like kind of a mix of everything, and it's really good, but it's really expensive. Fun fact, my personal favorite is still Canon, so the Canon 1D X2 is my current favorite camera still. It's the best in, you know, for photography, for wedding photography, and just basically weatherproofing. So the one thing about the Sony system that's not up to par is that the weatherproofing is not as good as like Canon and Nikon, so you can't really be shooting in the rain and the snow, that kind of thing, without you messing up the camera. And so onto lenses. So lenses, I really like prime lenses, and this one's a Rokinon 85 1.4, so it's manual focus only. And even when I shot back on, what do you call it? On Canon, I would manual focus a lot, because that way you can guarantee that the focus is where you want it to be focused on. And if I buy a wide aperture lens, so aperture means like the So the smaller the number, the bigger the aperture, which means it lets more light into the camera sensor. And I really like primes and wide aperture lenses because there's more bokeh, so more blurry background. And then another thing is that the primes make you work a little bit more. So primes stands for that the lens is only one focal length. So that means if you want to zoom in, you have to walk forward. If you want to zoom out, you have to walk backwards. So that kind of gives you more exercise and stuff. Another one of my favorite lenses is going to be, let me see, where's the, I don't know where the, oh, so it's right here. So it's going to be the Sony, the FE 3.5 to 5.6, you know, 28 to 70. So this is the kit lens that comes with the body, the base starter kit if you buy the Sony system. So this lens is really good. The autofocus is really good. It's really quiet. It's really silent. So basically everything that, you know, really look for. Okay, I don't know what this is. Okay, I'm not very organized. Another lens that I bought right off the bat. So you'll see that all my gear is relatively cheap. So this is going to be the 51.8. So this is an autofocusing lens from Sony themselves. And this is a really good lens, but I haven't been using it much lately because I really prefer the 85 and the 35 more so than the 50. But 50 is going to be the length where it, when you take a photo of it, where you take a photo of something and it looks just like what you see in your eyes, in your eye length. And then this is a really solid prime that I picked up for $100 off from, what do you call it, Amazon. Or was it, I think it was Amazon, yeah. So it's going to be the 7 Artisans 35 f2. Really cheap, and it's really solid. It gives off like a very good rangefinder kind of feel. And if you don't know what a rangefinder is like a Leica M9. You know, it's like a square or a rectangular camera, and the viewfinder is like right here. So something more classic, more fun. I do want to pick up a Fujifilm X100F to have fun with it, just daily carry. Because I usually take this camera out when I, you know, what do you call it? I can't think of the word right now. When I'm working, when it's actually like a paid job. And then another camera I'm using right now, obviously, is this one. So it's the GoPro Hero 5 Black that I'm recording with. This is really for the vlog and the daily stuff. So I also have a DJI Osmo Pocket. So the Osmo Pocket is, I don't know, it's good for, in the sense if you're, you know, doing vlogs with people stuff, not so much car stuff. But if you're doing more car stuff, then the GoPros are going to be better. And the audio is significantly better. Although I didn't want to admit, but it is true. But the thing is that the GoPro doesn't come with the stabilization, unless you get the GoPro Hero 7 Black, which has that hyper smooth, which to my experience it seems pretty good. I think another setup, let me see here. That's really all the stuff I have right now, but other lenses that I use occasionally that I borrow from my friends are going to be, so it's a Tamron 28 to 75, it's a 2.8, so it's a wide aperture zoom lens, and then one from Yeehai, which is going to be the 16-35 f2.8 as well. But wide-angle lenses are very hard to use because the distortion on it is so crazy. So wide angles are usually reserved for, say, rolling shots in maybe really tight spots, but most of the times for architecture, you know, weddings and landscape shooting, that's what you use a wide-angle lens for. So as you see, my lenses are really, really cheap. I don't have any GM. I don't chase that stuff. I chase more of an artistic feel because in the time, like my favorite time period is probably like the 80s and the 90s, so more film photography. So that's why you'll see that my photo work isn't as commercial, but sometimes it'll lean more commercial-ish, which is something that I've always been wanting to do, but more so for fun, I'm going to have more grainy, dark vibes. But dark vibes overall is my style. So my tips to go in for people who are just starting photography, like I said, don't worry so much about the gear. There's so much to learn about post-processing, your framing, you know, what lens you choose to use. They don't have to be expensive, okay? You know, don't always be like, I need an L lens or I need a lens that's like $1,800, $2,000. That's not important. So a famous Seattle photographer, Chase Jarvis, said that it's a very popular quote, right? The best camera is the one that you have with you, which is true. So if, say, you saw a LaFerrari and you only had your iPhone, then use your iPhone. You know, if you didn't have your iPhone, if you didn't have a camera, then you wouldn't get the photo to begin with. And another thing that I really want to talk about is going to be finding your own style. Finding your own style is very important. Don't just use your HDR, your clarity tool to 100%. I didn't do the HDR, but I did do the clarity, which I still kind of retain, because I like how it gives off a certain effect to certain angles and in certain parts of the photos. So you can give a really good photographer a really shitty camera, and they could make something out of it. And then, find a photographer that you really like and try to imitate his photos, and then try to add your own touch to it, add your own flair to it, and that's something that's going to help you in the long run. Because even now, I look at other photographers' works. I'm like, okay, what part of this photo do I like? What part of the photo that I don't like, and that I like from another photographer, so on and so forth. There's a lot of things to learn, and even if you're the best photographer on this world, I don't think you know everything, because there's no human on this world that knows everything, right? And so that's why I'm here sharing what I know with you guys about photography. And another thing is that if photography is a hobby, and you enjoy it as a hobby, just keep it like that. Because if you take it up as a profession, it gets very stressful. And whenever you do something that you love for a profession and a career, it gets very stressful, and you start to fall out of love with it. So, for example, like me, cars and photography. So it's a really big reason why I want to get a Fujifilm to play around with. And then video, I'm also currently using this for video as well, but I'm at this point where it's like, do I want to focus more on video making or photography? So this is a very pivotal point where I have to decide on gear again for the future, because I'm moving into going to be a more professional sense. So this is something that I'm struggling with right now. And everyone has their struggles. You see all these famous photographers, all these people who take such good photos. You don't know how much time, how much effort, how much money, how much blood, how much sweat, how much tears, how much sleep lost that they've been through to be where they are today. So it's okay if you're not where you are, because I don't think any of us are. And I stress out over it a lot. I'm always thinking, okay, how can I become better? And it's just, people have high hopes of me, and they enjoy my work. A lot of people know my work. A lot of people like it, but that really stresses me out, because I just want to be better. I want to be worthy of the words that people are giving me, the compliments that they're giving me. So don't stress out too much over it. Even though I'm saying this, I do stress out a lot. But that's just something this is how life is, right? Other than that, I think we covered most of the things that I usually talk about. If there's anything else more in depth that you guys want to know, you can always just leave me a comment or DM me, and I'll try to get on that topic. So I'm going to be trying to spend less time editing and more time just talking and giving you knowledge about from what I know and kind of who I am as a person and how I developed to where I am, even though I don't think I'm anywhere. Last two things that I don't want to forget is going to be the post-processing apps that I do use. So one's going to be VSCO, which is obviously very, very popular among a lot of people, and that's on your mobile phone. So if you have a camera that you can connect Wi-Fi with it, so like this, you can shoot your JPEG photos over to your phone and just completely edit off your phone. So you use the Photoshop app in there, the Lightroom app, and then Photoshop and Lightroom are going to be the two apps that I do use on a desktop, on a PC, on a laptop, or whatever. And then for video editing, it's going to be Premiere. From what I hear from other people is that Premiere is the harder program to edit, but if you're like really good at it, then you're not going to have any issues with it. And then Final Cut and I think Sony Vegas are a little bit easier. And there's another one called I forgot what the name was. It was something like Encore or something. I don't know. Encore. I don't know. But those are just the things that I use, and you see all the gear that I have right now. So it's fairly simple and fairly laid back and chill. So yeah, if you guys have any more questions or want to know more about, I don't know. If you have any questions for me that you think I can answer for you or that you want to know from me, then just drop a comment or DM, and I'll try my best to get a video out for you like that. Okay, so I think that'll be it. I'm out. Bye-bye.